All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Irish. Welcome, Hero. Welcome, Blame Tag. Welcome, Mad Dog. Welcome, Mel. Good to see everyone. Cranky, can you say something? I want to make sure you're coming through loud and clear.
Hello, everyone. I'm back, I
She
guess.
is back. So, you guys here are okay? I'm pretty sure that you should. So, yep, got a thumbs up there. So, well, this got postponed a little bit, and I kept tugging at her saying, "Hey, when we gonna do this? When we gonna do this?" And I bailed for two times, and now we got it together. In the chat, the serving times for all your satire needs. Visit this podcast sponsor over the serving times. You got to put the link in there though too. Well, they can't. Yeah, you need to put the link in when you do that, so people can see it. I know when we do Warzone, I've got that on a card where they can see it, but for this, please do because you are the sponsor here as well. So, having said that, welcome, Cranky. How are you?
Tired as usual. So just early mornings well, today wasn't busy. I didn't have a truck, but it's been a busy couple weeks. So just getting everything cleaned up and organized. It was a very good weekend because I finally got my receiving area clear and the rest of the warehouse was like really cleaned up, and it just makes me feel a lot better. There's still fixtures everywhere, but all the product was away. So that was super nice.
When you run the warehouse, there really is no better feeling than making that happen because you've got so much stuff that comes in and out. And you wonder sometimes why are they sending so much stuff or whatnot. And when you finally get it clean, I mean, at least you had how long until it gets filled back up again?
Uh, well, well, probably Friday at this point, although I was expecting a truck today, but then it came on Thursday. So Thursday was a gong show. And then we had almost a full truck on Friday. So it was kind of like everything everywhere. And it'll get filled up probably again on Friday. I'm expecting another full truck Friday.
Well, I do believe you have the best work related story of the week because inform us on how you know where to go when World War III breaks out.
Okay, so I was on the floor going from, the employee area, which in our store is at the front of the store. So I was kind of trying to make a beeline back to the back, and the desk, the department desk in between had a lineup. So I asked, if I could help him. Anyways, so this guy asked me to help him find something. So I help him find it. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, just a heads up." And so yes, I'm bracing, like I said, for a minor complaint, like, something is icy or wrong, whatever. He's like, "So there's this place called whatever near this town that's about, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 hours from here. And if World War III breaks out, everybody will kind of be helping everyone over there. So just head over." I was like, okay.
Wow.
And like, true to form, the dude's bearded and he's wearing a like camo fleece, and like it was actually a red hat, but no, it was not a Make America Great hat. I mean, I am in Canada, but there are people who wear those. But it just struck me as hilarious. And I was just like, oh, I can't tell if it was like creepy or weird or if he's just like a weird doomsday prepper, but my goodness.
I'm
So,
calling Doomsday Prepper.
but it was bizarre. I've never had that type of a comment before.
Blame Tag just said,
But
"Come join my compound" is a whole new level of creepy.
right? Well, and I told my husband, and when I came home, he's like, "Was he waiting in the truck outside?" Like after, like, oh, it was very bizarre. He's like, "You're gonna get kidnapped. Be careful."
Wow. Fun fact. I live in South Carolina. A lot of people don't know this. The television show Doomsday Castle. The Doomsday Castle is here. I think, Hero, you have to confirm this because it's in your neck of the woods. I think we're only like 30 minutes from it. So I know where to go. Hey, Cranky, look, if World War III breaks out, we have a castle down here and we'll help you out, okay?
Sure, but let's be honest, there's probably going to be a civil war in America before World War III breaks out
Yeah,
at this point.
probably so. Blame takes us. Hey, girl, you ever milk a goat? Wow.
My goodness.
Yeah, Hero says we're 37 minutes away from Doomsday Castle, so that's interesting. Blank Stares, welcome. Tardy, we don't write people up here, regardless of what our friends on Twitter say. He asked me if I was going to suspend him or ride him up if he was late, and I was like, nope. Mel says that sounds like a creepy pickup line. All right, so the whole point of this is ask cranky questions. So, folks, what you got? You got to have something. Blame tag, you got to go first. You're the sponsor. You have to have, the first question. I think it's just appropriate.
And crickets,
right? I mean, the entire thing's ask cranky anything, and I guess they're scared of you. I don't know. By the way,
well, if they could see me, I'm sweating bullets right now. So be nice.
Oh yeah. She's on the spot here. By the way, did you see the new Serving Times article about Jeff quitting Cranky?
No, I haven't really been on Twitter today though.
Oh, you should check it out. Jeff was, one of those employees that you thought the world revolved around him, and he quit and the store fell apart. So
I'm sure it did burn down as he left, right?
Yeah, exactly. So going along that line, since nobody's asked you a question yet, so obviously you probably have people like that in your building that feel like if they were not there, things would fall apart without them. And typically it's hourly folks that say that. It's never salary or manager folks that say this. It's always like hourly. Do you have anything like that going on in your building?
We don't have any hourly ones like well, we might have one, but like I don't think she would think that like it would fall apart without her, but that like we would probably miss her a lot. But there is and I don't really know what the position is because like I guess they kind of like let them have authority like a manager, but they're like an office person. But like it was funny because I was talking to one of the newer managers. He's been with us for about a year, and I said something that he should go ask this person or something, and he just replies, "Well, every time I go and ask them, they just do it and don't show me." And that's kind of like the characteristic of this person is like they hold on to everything and they don't teach other people this stuff. And it's like, okay, but and of course they have like if I get hit by a bus book, but someone told me they looked through it once and it doesn't make any sense. So there's a few things that might actually fall apart kind of without that person. But I think enough of us know different pieces of that job that we could probably hobble on by. But yeah, they just don't like to like everybody to know because they want to do it. And then they also never say no to anything when they're asked by the owner. And so that created actually a bit of a mess today. And I said, I was working with the GM this weekend. Yesterday, her and I were doing something in the back. And I said, this spot here is the only spot in the warehouse that's kind of a mess right now because it's not technically supposed to be me taking care of it. I said, I guarantee you when the owner does his walk tomorrow, he's going to talk to you about this. And sure enough, and it's this person's responsibility because they always say no and they always say yes and they never ask for help, even when it gets out of hand. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but
manufactured job security by not teaching people.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can do a lot of what they do because the previous owner showed me a good portion of it, but yeah, I would need some refreshers probably because it's been 4 years.
All right,
5 years.
Here comes questions and comments. We're getting loaded up here. So the first thing Blame Tag says, it's not a question, but my wife thinks your profile pic is really you. If you would,
Steve can tell you definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely. The first question is from Irish Connection. He says, how has retail affected your social life / relationships?
Well, there's definitely lots of stress involved. So I've definitely come home crying several times. more than several. My poor husband, bless his heart. He stays at home with the kids as well as he has some other stuff that he does from home. And so, yeah, he usually just hugs me and makes me dinner and makes me feel better. But, I've made some really good friends at work. And like, so that's not been bad. It just sucks when you work opposite schedules of the people that you're closest with, I suppose. Um, but for the most part, not too bad. I've worked with family before as well, like within the same retail store. And so that was nice because I got to see certain people that I'm fairly close to within my family quite often. But like I also tend to be a homebody for the most part. Like even when I do get together with friends, I'm usually pretty tired. And we just kind of stay home. And I mean, the pandemic didn't help with that either. But just kind of hunker down and don't really go anywhere and do a whole lot. I would say we don't have a huge social life,
Well,
but
you have children, right? Yeah. Well,
yes,
there's your social life right there, right?
that's true. But well, and with the kids too, like you can tell that they miss me because like as soon, and I mean I think it's most kids and like, any parent that works and they come running and they just want to be around you, but we have one of them's a toddler and I don't know, they just started yelling and
I
jumping
heard that.
and
That's
I'm in the
great.
basement. um so one's a toddler and so he's doing his whole like cries a lot when I leave because his attachment kind of deal, but for the most part, we just stay home and hang out with those little munchkins. So
Well,
I think
it's interesting you say that because, like, our youngest still, I mean, he's teenager now. It's funny. We'll walk in the door from work, and all of a sudden, here he is, just hovering in the kitchen, and he loves his mother, and it's like, you know, he still has these little things about him, with her, and it's very sweet, honestly. And honestly, for me and her, for the longest time, we didn't have, well, still really, we've never had anybody to watch the kids. It's always been us and the kids. So it becomes, basically that's your life, and that's your social life. So I understand what you're getting at there. Real quick, did you meet your husband in retail?
I did not, but he has done a little retail before. We met in college.
Yeah. Oh, you met in college. Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, freshman college.
Wow. Was that Canadian or stateside?
No, we're in the States.
Ah,
So
okay. Are either one of you originally from Canada?
I am, and he's from the US.
Ah,
He's from the Pacific Northwest
gotcha.
area.
All right.
So
So Blame Tag says, aside from the Doomsday Prepper, what's the creepiest blank? I'm assuming shit you've heard from customers.
um oh okay, so I live in a smaller center, so there's a lot of like old guys.
It's always the old guys.
um Yeah. So there's two that stand out. There's one I used to go and hide in the warehouse from anytime we came in. He was just weird. He would never give me any personal space, and he kind of drooled a little, which really didn't help my comfort level. Like, but not like, and I don't mean like that sounds really terrible and kind of ageist and ableist, but he was just like it was just the way he held his mouth when he talked. It wasn't even like you could tell it was just weird. Anyways, but I would literally like I would step around a display or something to put something physical between us and he'd just step around it and step close to me again. And I remember one time I was doing a walk around with my GM and this guy decided to stop and talk to him. And I was just like, so I kind of took a bit of a step back and kind of like positioned myself a little bit behind my GM so that he was kind of like the barrier between this man and and me. And then like towards the end of the conversation too, the guy was like, "Oh, make sure you keep her smiling." And I was like dead staring at the ground like the entire time. Like, I don't want to be near you. And you just, you get this vibe. I don't know if you know, but women get this like vibe and it's just the worst. And then there was another guy. I was loading up some chairs that you assemble, and you know how they're like kind of crappy. They're really light, right?
Yeah.
And so he was buying 6 of them, and they're just those like faux leather chairs that, so I had him on a cart. I was taking him out, and he goes, "So how come my girlfriend's doing this instead of the boys that are around here?" And I'm like, "Excuse you? First off, you're
Wow.
not heavy. Secondly, I'm not your girlfriend." But
Wow.
yeah,
Ooh, boy.
creepy old men.
Yeah.
So, but
Uh,
that's pretty mild compared to some of my coworkers, though. There've been some pretty weird and gross comments, and one couple, I think 4 women have had stalkers in my time at this store.
oh, really?
So, mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
terrible. Okay, so Hero has okay, warehouse goddess, we'll just say. Um Hero asks if you were given the ability to refuse one truck every year, just one, do you think you would do it? And if so, is it at Christmas?
It is not a Christmas truck. I would do it, and it would be when we get an entire um, truck full of tires.
Oh, y'all sell tires too. That's right.
Oh,
Y'all sell
yes.
all sorts. So real quick, just for people that might be watching, kind of go down like the abbreviated list of what you sell where you work as best as you can.
Uh, we sell tires, obviously, automotive parts, um, household chemicals, household small appliances, some large appliances, ready to assemble furniture, tools of all sorts, paint, sporting goods of whatever you can think of, toys, um, seasonal stuff, everything from patio furniture to Christmas crap, Halloween stuff, anything themed, of course, for a holiday. We also have a garden center in the summertime. We sell trailers. We sell, um, I don't know, pretty much anything you can think of except for grocery.
Is there a store you could compare it to in the States?
Uh, I don't, I don't think so, really. Like, it's basically like a Walmart without the groceries. Like, because there's, although our automotive would be much larger than that. Our like O'Reilly's isn't a thing up here, like that kind of stuff, or AutoZone. We don't really have those. We have basically Napa and then like smaller places. And anyone who's from Canada can figure out what company I work for just from this description.
Okay,
Um,
got you.
but
We'll leave it at that.
yeah,
We'll
we
leave it at that.
sell pretty much anything you can think of that's not food, although we have like snacky, like shelf stable snacks and that kind of thing.
Clothes.
De- yes, like we like winter boots and hats and
Okay,
coats and all that kind of stuff, and yeah.
call it because where
So,
you're in Saskatchewan, right?
yes.
What's like the population there?
Well, the entire province is about, I don't know, 1.2 million.
Okay, so it's not small. There's plenty of people.
Yeah, but the land size is like larger than Texas. So I
Mm,
mean, we're pretty spread out. We're like the breadbasket of Canada. Like it's a lot of farmland here, a lot of farmers.
wow. Okay. Bigger
So
than
we're
Texas.
kind of like yeah, we're kind of like Nebraska. I think it's bigger than Texas. I don't know. It's something like that. It's very large. If you look it up, you'll see that it's very
You're like
large.
those states, but
For
you don't
like
have tornadoes.
we do sometimes.
Really? Do you do get tornadoes up there?
Hmm. Yep. We get tornadoes, and we get also like, because there's like, when I say Nebraska, I mean like dead prairie,
Okay.
at least where I am. And so um, we get what they call plow winds as well, which is basically a wind that can go, it's not a tornado, but it's a wind that's basically hurricane force almost.
Ooh, wow.
Like getting up to that, like probably like, it's pretty common for us to have gusts of like 30 to 40 miles an hour
Yep.
if you convert it. So it's, it's very windy. It's very windy here.
Uh,
Very dry.
well, we've got some interesting comments. Let's see here. TM Lens was like, where'd it go? Um, Somebody met their significant other, not at work. I met mine
Yes.
at work. Twice
Hmm.
actually. But Blame Tag says that he didn't either. So you're not alone there. Um, Mel says unloading tire trucks is exhausting. I've never unloaded a tire truck. I can only
It's the
imagine.
worst. Oh my goodness. And then like you get like this like rubber film on your hands
Ooh,
and then your hands smell. And actually it makes the floor really slippery because whatever like this silicone coat, whatever finishing on when you roll them across the floor, because we have to roll them to put them in because we have a special warehouse for our tires, like a special spot. It's just tires. And
they come
so
in
we have to kind of,
singles.
yes.
So so
Yep.
re-
All of them.
so all right. So what size truck are we talking? Are we talking like 52 feet full semi full of tires?
Yes, thankfully we didn't get one this year because they were having issues getting tires in at all.
Ooh,
But yes, 50, 52, 53 feet, floor to ceiling, stacked with
no,
tires.
no pallets.
No.
Oh my God, you've got to take them off one by one on the truck.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we even still we get them with our like they're mixed in with our regular truck from one of our depots, and we'll have 30 to 100 tires on a
And
truck.
how long does it take to eradicate that smell from your hands?
A few good washes.
Wow.
But you know what? Honestly, the whole building smells like tires, if we're honest. You walk into my store and like if anybody from Canada is watching, they'll know what I mean because they probably know what store I'm talking about, but you walk into the store and it has that smell. You just know you're in that
Yeah.
store. Like, yeah. If anyone's from Minnesota, it's like when you walk into Fleet Farm. There's just that smell. I don't know what the Fleet Farm smell is because it's not tires, but there's just that smell. And you just know you're in a Fleet Farm. It's like, yeah, I may or may not have been in Minnesota for a few
Right.
years, but
So
um,
going to the tire truck. So you're the warehouse person. From floor to ceiling, how many tires is that? Just say one stack, like a single tire all the way up. How many is that?
well, if they stack them nicely, that would be one thing. Usually they like, I think there's like, I don't know, I'm trying to visualize it now. Probably 6 or
I was
7 because they stack them like on end. They don't stack them like flat like you would think of a tire stack.
oh
They like they're kind of like folded over each other, if that makes any sense. I don't know how to describe it like without being able to show
eh,
someone, but like
I'd be scared like you open up the truck and all of a sudden all 52 feet of tires start rolling at you at one time.
no, because they're definitely actually really hard to get out. You know what? Maybe next time I have tires in a truck, I'll take a picture and send
Yeah,
it to you on the DM.
yeah. Send it to me. I want to see that because I've never worked anywhere where we had like an automotive section. All right, so I have no idea what that would look like. I would like to see that. I imagine it's a nightmare, especially if the fact you got to load them off one by one. And then do they at least load them by type or are they mixed?
No, they're mixed. So
Oh
what we do
God.
is we take them off and like I think I've described before like we have shipping labels for each one. Like we scan each item as it comes off. It has its own shipping label. So we either scan the shipping label or the UPC. So we scan it and then we roll them. We just stack them upstairs and actually one of the guys in the automotive department, he's basically taken it upon himself to always just put them away so that they know where stuff goes. They kind of go in the same spot all the time when they're looking for certain tires. And then we actually have two separate um, areas in the warehouse because you get like the big giant, and I mean, there's a lot of trucks around here. So you get a bunch of the big giant truck tires, but that we're not going to send to an upper warehouse. And then, so we have to decide and split those as well, and then we just stack them and they put them away for us.
Wow. I wow.
Yeah.
I just, mm, I, I don't want no part of a tire truck, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just gonna say that right now. Um,
They all do. The tires do come with labels, like aside from a shipping label, like
but
all of them
tires are damn
have.
heavy.
Oh, I know. Some of them aren't so bad, but
But you only get car tires. Do you get like tractor tires too?
no, not
Okay,
not big stuff like
thank
that.
God.
That's something they'd have to go to like a John Deere for or something
It'd
like
be.
that. No.
I see like
But I mean,
somebody.
some of the truck tires are freaking like huge.
It's like I see you having some guy in your stock room or gal. It doesn't matter. Wearing like some kilt, like in those strongman contests, flipping the tires end over end to get them off the truck.
Mm. No, we just roll them. They are round and they roll. So we just roll them and
About how many?
go that way.
About how many tires do you keep on hand at a time? Just off the top of your head, just
Uh,
an estimate.
several hundred.
So
So, I mean, it depends on how many we can get in, obviously, at a time. And then there's like I said, we would get like a winter tire shipment, and then of course there's like the all season and summer tire shipment. The winter's the worst one.
when you were talking about loading the tire, how the tires are loaded, Mel said they zigzag them kind of right. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
All right. So she knows what's up. And TM Lens was like, oh, hell no. And then Hero was like, loading them on a truck sucks too, especially during the summer. And let's see here. Irish Connection says, inventory and shrinkage. Is it worth the effort to try to keep on top of it? Anywhere I've worked, it's messed up no matter how much work goes into stock taking.
So that's true. Our owner is very much on like receiving has to be really accurate. But because of the way our company does the receiving, it actually is fairly accurate. We can do shortages and overages on our truck like that day and have it posted properly, including with damages. And we actually only ever do inventory when the ownership changes.
Oh.
We don't have like inventory
Oh,
days.
you don't?
Thank
You don't
goodness.
have a yearly
Um,
inventory?
no,
Oh, I
we
hate
can
you all.
adjust our inventory. Okay, but yeah, but here's the thing. So we adjust our inventory consistently. So like we actually have like sheets that we send up to the office and
Oh,
someone up there
you do cycle
can do
counts.
it. Yeah, so like but not in the way that you would think. It's not like we get a list and it's like go check these ones. It's like oh, our system told us to put this many on a shelf because we actually get told how many to do for picks to put on the shelf based on how many can fit on the shelf and how many we've sold. So if we have too much in inventory, then we'll end up getting excess downstairs. And the people putting the stock out have to make sure they write that on the sheet. And then we do an inventory adjustment or say there's just a hole on the shelf and it says we have one. We look for it. We can't find it. We send that up for them to shrink.
So you don't do a yearly inventory, but it sounds like you manage your inventory during a calendar year basically daily.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Um Hero says, so if you could tell your warehouse one thing they do or don't do that makes your job harder, what would it be? Besides not sending rogue tires to hit you.
That makes my job harder is when they don't locate things. Like, and I think I talked about this last time I was on, but like the way our warehouse is set up, we scan the item basically into the shelf that it's there. And then when someone's like, oh, it's still in the back, we literally know exactly where in the back it is. It's not just like stuff is there somewhere, hopefully. So when they don't do that, or when they take the last one off a shelf and don't delete that location, then people are searching for stuff and that makes it harder.
Okay.
So
Fair
But
enough.
I have a pretty decent team that does what they're supposed to most of the time.
Mm-hmm. TM Lens asks, as a manager, what's your favorite interaction you've had with a member of your team?
Oh, that's a hard question. You should give me more time to think about that. Well, I like everyone on my team. Actually, it was really cool. So not too long ago, like it's a smaller city that I'm in. So there's like, you know how everybody has Facebook groups for everything, right? So there's like a city Facebook group that's more popular than the others. And someone left a compliment on there about one of my staff members, and I happened to be at work at the time, and my brother screenshotted it and sent it to me. So it's like, oh, like, so I stuck it on Slack just to like share it with the rest of the management team. And this person was working, so I went up and I just let them know. And I was like, and the smile that lit up his face was like, I've never seen him smile like that. Like he's pretty, like he just puts his head down and he works, and he's like, but he's like always helping customers, like when he's on the floor, and he's always getting his stuff done. Like he's a really good employee. And like I've never seen him smile like that. Like he was just so happy that someone named him on the Facebook group, and like for the whole city to see. So that's cool too. So that's probably the one in recent memory that's one of my favorites.
Nice.
So
Um, Hero says, do you get to tell people you don't have to check in the back because you run the back?
um yes, sometimes I do. Well, and the nice thing is because like our scanners have our inventory right on them. So sometimes when it says zero and they're like, but I just looked at it, like a half hour ago, and be like, well, someone must have bought it. So sometimes they're like, can you check in the back anyways? And then that's when you do the whole like, yeah, sure, fine. And then you go and you stand there for 5 minutes, and then you turn around and come back out.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question now, and there's no preparation. Take your time. If there's one thing you could change about your job where you work, what would it be and why?
Like procedurally or like personnel, or it
You
doesn't
pick.
matter? Oh, goodness. Oh,
This is where I need the Jeopardy thing.
yeah, apparently. Dang, that's a hard question. Um, oh my goodness. I think that I don't know. That's a really hard question. Um, oh goodness.
Gotcha.
I would change not having outdoor containers for storage. I would rather have an extension of the warehouse
Oh,
because that's a
like
nightmare and
like
a
the
half.
outdoor metal containers.
Like we have sea cans, like literal sea cans.
Oh wow, yeah. Offsite, offsite or outside containers always suck. Nothing ever goes right with those. So I'm 100% with you on those because I've worked, like when I was at Kmart for inventory. I mean not inventory, layaway. They would bring in
Mm-hmm.
these containers to go. It was just a nightmare, and then you had to go out every night and kind of like inventory them in a way. And then there's even been Dollar Trees I've worked for that their back room was so bad that they brought in storage containers for their back stock. Now, if wrap your head around that, you're in a really big organization, a really big building, evidently. All right. There have been
Right.
Dollar Trees that I have been in that they have storage containers out back. Think about that for a
That's a
minute.
lot for a dollar
And
store.
and
Like, cause like we have like I said, like we have like patio furniture. Like what goes in ours is really big stuff,
right.
like patio furniture, sheds. Although I really am hoping to bring a lot of that in this year. Like one of them stores a bunch of old fixtures and stuff. And like our Christmas is in there now because we store Christmas, like all that
Oh,
kind of stuff. But
speaking of, do you guys do like carryover? Like whatever you don't sell for Christmas, let's say this year, you inventory it and you put it somewhere and you put it back out next Christmas?
Yes, our system allows us to, it's called containerizing.
I hate
Which
that.
again, if anybody works in my organization, they're going to know. Anyways, but in any case, so it takes it out of inventory actually for until we decide that we want it to show back up again, which is nice. So then someone can't be like, because our like clearance deals get activated, right?
Yeah.
And then if that stuff is still in a freaking container, like a sea can, and it's like, a 93-cent ornament. But yes, no, we have to, because we're privately owned, right?
Right.
So he's not going to blow it out like Walmart and Superstore, which we got so many complaints about this year. Like, how come it's not cheaper? And it's like, well, because
We're going to
we
sell it
can't
next
just
year.
write it off. Yeah, well, that's just it, right? Oh my goodness. So, yeah, all that we do carry that over, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, and we had way more this year than we have ever had before, but it's apparently that was like across the company that everybody had lots of extra excess.
Now,
So
there's something I want to. I know we talked about this before, but I'm old and I forget. All right, so you have an owner. Now, is that an owner of the entire chain or an owner of just a location?
the owner of just this location, although there are owners in the organization that have more than one,
Gotcha.
and they also have there's a couple that have more than one that own more than one banner in our organization as well.
Okay, that makes sense. In response to Hero's question about you being able to say you don't have to check in the back, Mel said, just pretend to check in the back and take a 3 minute break.
Well, some days, but although our inventory honestly is out pretty bad still from our big move last year. So we're still like, well, we don't have it. So,
Okay, I'm going to ask you Irish Connections question, but before you answer, I want you to hear what Blame Tag's response was. All
oh
right,
no.
so Irish Connection asked, I think you're one of the only Warzone OGs that has worked in more than one country. What are the pros and cons, and is one better than the other? Now, before you answer that question, Blame Tag responded, Irish, I have. I've worked in both America and Florida.
Oh, goodness. Yes, Florida is its own whatever it is. Um, I did not work retail when I lived in the US of A. I worked mostly just on the college campus. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a whole lot to compare. Um, but it, yeah, I don't know. And also, it's been a very long time since I worked down there. Well, the pay is considerably better up here. When I was working minimum wage in college, it was like $6.25, I think, where I was. So that's cool. Um, but yeah, even still, although where I live has one of the lower minimum wages in Canada.
Well,
But
let me ask you about people. All right, so you've okay. How long did you live in the United States versus how long in Canada so far?
well, if you include college, I think I lived in the States for close to a decade. Not quite. It'd be just shy of a decade.
Okay. And as far as
And
Canada goes, how long have you been there?
uh, um, well, I'm 33, so whatever. I guess some 20 something years.
Okay.
I guess.
Just from a people standpoint, we're not talking about jobs. We're not talking about what you've experienced. What do you find more pleasant? Do you find it more pleasant dealing with people in the United States or dealing with Canada? And there's no wrong answer here at all, because I'm sure we both have our share of awful. But on the average, what have you noticed?
Well, Canadians talk a lot less politics,
Mm-hmm.
so that's helpful. Um, I don't know. I guess it's just like it depends on your like depth of interaction with people. Um, but on the whole, it's been fairly similar. The only thing that it really bothered me in the States is like people would be like, "Oh, you're from Canada," and then they'd make a bunch of dumb jokes, and it's just like, okay, are we done yet? But then sometimes it would go from being like dumb jokes to just being plain mean. So it just, it
I think
depends.
that kind of summarizes it perfectly. To be honest with
And
you, I mean, you know, I think if we took a poll, if there was a way to gauge it and a way to actually quantify it, I would probably say that the United States is probably one of the rudest countries on the face of the planet. I mean, would you agree with that? Just based on what we deal with?
I mean, yes, but I will also say like cuz obviously my husband's American, so he's had his fair share of similar experiences that I had down there, like kind of cuz, well, especially in I mean, people try to goad him into like talking politics, which he doesn't do because yeah, he prefers not to. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the interaction. But Americans can be pretty rude. I think it's just like they're more like, oh, we can speak our mind, but like Canadians can be a lot faker, which can also, be pretty rough.
Right. And
Like just
talking about the politic things, I don't understand the obsession, you know. I think
yeah.
most people, if they keep that out of their lexicon and they keep that out of their mindset and worry about real life in front of them right now, they're more okay, because politics here is such an explosive, um, confrontational thing. It's whose side are you on? Who are you pulling for? Blah blah blah. And that's why you've heard me say, on the war zone, I don't discuss it because it's toxic. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
going to say this right now. I don't care which side of the aisle that you are on. American politics is nothing but toxicity on steroids.
Well, yeah, and I think the big part of it too is you guys have a two-party system and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have, I mean, like it's not like anything other than two parties have ever actually been in power in Canada, but there's a third option and there's lots of smaller parties and you're not voting for the actual person to be president, which I think makes a difference. You're just voting for like the party itself and whoever has the most seats, their person gets to be prime minister. So like it's like by association, which makes it a little less crazy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I do. Um, Hold on, we'll look here some questions. Let's see. Sarah was saying, as far as seasonal goes, they clearance theirs out, and whatever didn't sell got shipped back. Um, Mel decided to say that blame tag is Florida man, which could or could not be true. Um, let's see here. Hero says, when we ask blame tag anything, we'll have to find out how many gators he's wrangled. And blame tag responded, I think I've only seen one in the wild once or twice. Um, Mel said, we once had a gator named Bordeaux that lived in a kiddie pool in the backyard. Okay, that's new. Wow. Um, Blame Tag says, we barely have a two-party system. Um, oh, this is a really, really good question, Cranky. And be honest, because if you've worked in the business like we all have, we do this. So when you go out, do you find yourself, quote unquote, grading other stores you go in? Also, yeah, do
100%.
you and your spouse differ in how you treat service people because you work in retail and he doesn't?
No, because he used to work in retail, like way back when we were in college and a little bit after. He has worked in retail. Um, and also he's a decent human being. So that helps. Um, but no, it's pretty much the same. Although I will say, like, if we have to get like actually something done, because they're just being like obstinate and not like following their policy. Like when I'm like genuinely in the right, because otherwise I just usually walk away and don't care. And honestly, sometimes even if I'm not, I'm very millennial in that way. Just like it's not worth my time and the headache if it's not that big of a deal. But he's the one who can be like a little more like, but not like mean, but just like you need to get this done. I'm too timid for that in general. My personality just like I really not that, yeah, I just don't. So, like, if we need something like, and that's like when I'm talking like that, I mean, like the cable company or like the phone company, when they're screwing you over
Right.
on something and you need to talk to someone else. But in general, no, we're pretty much the same. Although he, he wasn't a very good tipper way back when, and now I've convinced him that, although thankfully, we don't have the same thing as in the States where they like don't have to pay the minimum wage. It slowly changed it throughout Canada, but even then, it's not like they were getting paid $2 an hour. It was much higher wages, but I think at most there might be two provinces left that pay a separate wage. But I think they were pretty much going away from that system because it's barbaric. Um, but they don't consider them contract workers or anything anymore that way. So,
Well, tell
but
your husband not to feel bad because long before there was a retail war zone, long before I woke up and figured out what was going on, I was that tipper. I'm not anymore. Just to let everybody know. There was actually a point in time where Hero was like, I'm so proud of you, because, and like, I've told the story on the podcast where, the switch flipped. Okay. There comes a time where the switch flips and everything makes more sense to you. And yeah, now it's 20-25% every time. Used to I wasn't that way. But that was also when I was a store manager. And that's also when I was told that was their job and whatnot.
right.
And, you know, it just proves that quote unquote old dog excuse me, old dogs can learn new tricks because I didn't see it that way. But as I got educated and as I figured out what was going on, I did. And now, that's only if, the service is, you know, serviceable, so to speak. If
Right.
I do get somebody who just doesn't care and whatnot, and it's just terribly awful, that's different. But on the whole, you got to really fuck up at this point for me not to do that. Um, Hero says, has there been anything in listening to the podcast that has made you go, they do what? In hearing about things in America.
Um, probably not really, mainly because I live down there.
Right.
um, so like it's one of those like I'm never shocked really by it. I'm just like, oh, go figure. But also at the same time, it's like, oh, that's a new one sometimes, but not really. Like a lot of it is, and I mean, like a lot of people up here share the same traits. Thankfully, we just don't have guns to pull on each
Oh,
other.
well, that's good.
Like seriously, like the pandemic and stuff, like seeing all those stuff about, like there wasn't much for people assaulting retail workers, thankfully, up here, as much. Canadians tend to keep their hands to themselves. They just scream. Although I guess I did have one of my employees was assaulted. The guy smacked, like my employee had his hand on the counter and the guy smacked it and then said a slur and walked out, even though the kid was white, but whatever.
Right.
Um, but other than that, it's not really that much that we worry about as much up here. But yeah, no, I can't think of anything in particular that I've been like, oh my goodness, what the heck?
Right. Okay. So are you into hockey?
I used to be more into hockey.
Okay. So Blaine Tech says, do you think the Leafs will get past round one in the playoffs this year?
The chances are very slim because they almost never get past the first round, or even if they, yeah, they're terrible. I think the last time they won a cup was '69. I want to say
Nice.
it's been a long time. My dad's a fan of them, and I say I'm a fan of the Leafs, but I don't watch hockey very often. And my husband's much more into basketball and pretty much basketball actually. He's watching March Madness and all that fun stuff, and
Yeah,
he watches baseball in the summer
oh,
some.
does he do the bracket thing? Because if he's done the bracket thing, he's probably mad this year.
I think he said he does it sometimes, but not like anything official, I don't think. But I think this year he's like, I don't even care because I love seeing the underdogs win anyways. So
Yeah.
the whole Princeton, Arizona thing was a big
Oh,
thing.
the
So
Purdue game was a big thing.
yes. Well, and actually he took my son to see a movie that night and he was like, go figure the one night I take my kid to a movie.
It watches the number one. He misses the number one seed
Yeah.
getting knocked out. Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Mel says, I have a very important non-retail question. Are you caught up
uh-oh.
on Survivor?
What's today? Yeah, I think so. Yes, because today's Monday, right? This is how retail affects me. I never know what day it is. Um, yes, I am.
Well, good.
Does she have more? Does she have more questions than that?
That was it. Hero, she might respond after that. Hero says, "Is there anything that the pandemic changed pertaining to retail that you wish would go back slash or are glad changed?"
Um, I am glad that at least some of my coworkers wear masks now when they're sick, because that's nice to not spread it to everybody. Um, Things that I wish would change back. People are just so much more rude. Oh my goodness. Like literally, like the owner doesn't work the floor very often, but he will come down sometimes and like help customers and whatever. But like if customers are rude, he's totally behind us and just being like, "There's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out." And because he's even noticed like the uptick, because we usually send on our messaging app like between the managers, like if we know someone was really pissed off at us, to either A, warn people not to help them if they try and come in again, or B, just be like, heads up, there might be a complaint for the owner, because he's in on that too. And he said there it's just like so much worse ever since the pandemic started. So I wish people would be nicer. Like it's kind of ridiculous. And then yeah, there's just people that are still heated about, they just make dumb comments if you're wearing a mask or whatever. So that I'd like to go back, but for the most part, it's not so. I don't think there is any, like it's starting to really like level out again. So
Well, I, I hope it's leveling out there because I still believe that since the pandemic, they've gotten ruder and they've gotten more entitled, especially down here. I mean,
hmm
I mean, it's just ugly. If you think about the state of humanity for just a moment, we had a global pandemic that happens about once every 100 years. If you go back and look at history, every 100 years, there's been a global pandemic. Okay.
right.
And rather than learn from the past, it just really has seemed like here in the States, people got uglier from that. And if you're seeing people there revert back to a nicer state, hey, you're in the right place because here, man, and how the hell do you make, a virus political? And that's the thing about down here that's so crazy is you've got to politicize everything. And it's just like, no, it's a virus. It killed a lot of people. It wasn't fake. But
Yeah.
I just don't get it. So if things are reverting back to a simpler time for you guys up there, hey Cranky, that's great. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
Mel,
in a way, but it's still, there's still
yeah, you
quite
still have your
the
hangers on.
fight. But
But Mel wanted to know after you answer her question. I just want to know how you feel about Caroline or Carolyn now that we're 3 episodes in, or if you have a fave yet. LOL.
I'm gonna assume Caroline is the crazy lady. Um, she's still, I don't know. I don't know what to do with her. I still think she's going to blow herself up with like being paranoid. And a favorite, um, I don't really know. I don't really have one yet. It's still early. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
Fun
I'm
fact.
rooting for the Canadian, I guess.
Well, that
Maybe
would,
he's really weird though. He's so weird. I don't know.
but that'd be the right thing to do though, because you're in Canada, right?
I guess so, but he's so weird.
Well, we got a bunch of weird ones down here too. Fun fact: you guys talk about TV and stuff. I see it on Twitter. I haven't watched a TV show in years. I haven't had cable in God knows how long. I mean, it's crazy. My disconnect from television has been a long, long road, and it's really weird because I see stuff. I'm like, what are they talking about? And you go look at it, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I mean, I remember when Survivor came out, but I'm not following it. But having said that, we're just about at an hour. So, Cranky, what I want from you. Okay, before I do that, we had a good question to come in. Here it says, any advice you would give your previous self before starting your retail journey?
Probably just have more confidence in your ability. Like, I have a tendency to, well, actually, I was even told it today that I was underselling myself. And like, I think that that has hindered me in a couple ways. Just like kind of letting things go because I thought, this is, you're not good enough for that or whatever. Just kind of like not having enough confidence. So there's that. And then just like not worrying like about what upper management necessarily thinks because they don't know what they're talking about half the time. And the good ones will like see that if you just kind of put your head down, and they won't necessarily reward you, but they'll, put your head down, do your job, have confidence in it, and it might get noticed, it might not, but you'll be less stressed if you just worry about yourself and instead of what kind of they're thinking for you.
Ooh,
I
we
don't know.
we we have a really good question. I know we talked screen, off stream, what your husband has done, and it would, out of respect, have to be reined in. Okay, but Mrs. Blame Tag says, would your husband participate in a retail partners retail war zone, as I've talked about for almost 2 years now?
I mean, I'd have to ask him, but I don't know. Actually, I almost accidentally tagged him in on his regular one on Twitter
Don't do that.
when you
Don't do
asked
that.
that
We
a while
we
ago.
are not the
I know.
same.
I was so close. I was like, "Oh, whoops, this is nope,
Nope,
can't
nope,
do
nope,
that."
nope. And but that's something I do want to throw out there real quick while we're here. I mean, in talking with you and knowing what's up, that would have to be a different thing, and that's the respectful thing to do. Okay, from where I sit. So if that's something that ever transpires, just let him know that that's ground rules that are laid out prior.
Right.
So I just think that's the right thing to do. I think you understand what
Oh,
I'm
for
saying.
sure. Yep.
So, um, having said that, we're sitting at an hour. You got Rugrats to go play with and whatnot. If World War III was happening right now, and you had one thing to say to your retail brothers and sisters and friends and partners, what would you leave us with?
See, my first reaction is to do a movie quote, but
Do whatever you feel.
uh, abandoned ship. Yeah, I don't know. Probably. See, my first reaction is just Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Okay, that's fair.
um, so, but yeah, probably just it's gonna be worse than the pandemic. So Maybe just, you know what we can do? We can all just lock ourselves in our stores and live off the food in there. We got, you got small appliances, you can cook it up. Walmart's across the street from me, so we can just go join them and well have a little party inside the store and just lock the doors. It's kind of like Black Friday, except not letting the zombies
Oh,
in.
true. But see, now you've got an in because you know somewhere down, if you take a left at the corner store and go up the hill and then go through the tundra, there's people there that will help you when World War III breaks
Yeah.
out.
Oh my goodness.
So you've got that.
No,
So
thank you.
so so everybody in the chat, if World War III breaks out, we have to go find her. Just to let you know, she's got it all planned out.
Yeah.
Yep. So having said that, everybody have a great evening. Wednesday night, just to let you know, is going to be AI and retail. I got some stuff I got to do to prepare for that. But yeah, we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and retail and chat GPT and all this other good stuff. So it's going to be fun. So having said that, Cranky, thank you so much for being here. I know this has been 3 weeks in the making. So have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your time with your family. And to everybody else out there, be careful, stay safe, and we'll see you Wednesday night. Have a good night. Peace.